We left about 8.5 minutes or so for leeway, so I think we might have a few stragglers at the end of the night, but nonetheless, thank you for everybody for showing up on a Friday evening. I do appreciate it, and I think it's an exceptionally important issue to be discussing, so hopefully it's one of your better Friday evenings. I'm not sure if that's really the case, but we're going to make it that way. I'll introduce myself. I'm Pt.1, and I'm a Federal Liberal Party candidate in Calgary East. And I'm going to be doing a little bit of an introduction of some of my colleagues in the Liberal Party, one of whom is here this evening, actually. And I'm going to just quickly introduce the panel, but each of the panel speakers will be introduced on their own as we go through the panel. Some of you have before you an agenda. And can everybody hear me at the back of the room? Oh, good. Okay. So you have an agenda, and that's basically the breakdown. The way it functions here this evening is that every speaker is going to speak for approximately 10 minutes. Apart from my little introduction and then my little talk, every speaker is going to be speaking for about 10 minutes, and then as you can see, we have a microphone set up at the center of the room. So do feel free afterward. It is a question and answer period. We are going on YouTube. We are tweeting. So if you are tweeting, I'm on what are the hashtags? It's hash.
#UC, #CDN Poly.
Okay, so #CDN Poly and #UC, right? Those are the hash tags. So feel free to tweet. And if you see yourself being recorded, feel free to take a look at yourself on YouTube stardom this evening. So let me just begin by introducing myself, and I'm going to ask Natalie actually if you would put up the PowerPoint. And as we're getting that ready, I'm just going to thank a few people actually for coming this evening, for helping me to organize this. Calgary East as a Liberal Party association is relatively young in terms of its recent construction. We've been extremely effective, I think, in trying to get people engaged in some of the key policy areas that the next federal election is going to be about. And certainly the three policy areas that I focus on are peacekeeping, oil sands and energy development, and gender rights. So those are the three areas that I focus on primarily as an individual. But of course, all the candidates have their special areas. And of course, the National Party is going to have a particular platform that you'll all hear about very soon. I personally expect us to be in an election within about 10 days, hopefully election call, and I certainly hope that's the case in time ratings go. But we'll see how that goes. So I do look forward to meeting you all in the near future. And if you do live in Calgary East, let me know. So let's just begin. The title of today's panel is Oil Sands, Sex, Drugs, and Economics. I will talk about sex and drugs, but mostly economics. So for those of you who came for the former, not the latter, I will speak to that in just a moment. All of our speakers come from different backgrounds, and they all have different perspectives. And I think it's quite clear that in a discussion like this, it's important to have multi-perspectives. So I'm just going to go from right to left. We have here Todd Hirsch, who is from ATB Financial, an economist at ATB Financial. Is it senior economist? Is that correct? Senior economist.
Which means I'm old.
Experienced and wizened. And then we have Lemphers, who is a researcher at the Pembina Institute. Is it senior researcher, Nathan?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay. Soon to be, soon to be. Then we have Nikiforuk, who is an author and journalist. Some of you may know his book, Tar Sands, Dirty Oil and the Future of a Continent. We've actually had a book club in Calgary East where we read that book together, and it got reported on Radio 660, and we proceeded to have about 25 people call us on the phone very angrily with opinions of all sorts the very next day. So very effective. Thanks to Andrew. And we have MLA Hugh MacDonald, who's a Liberal Party MLA for Edmonton Gold Bar. So thank you very much, Hugh, for coming. And Susannah Pierce, who is the, get this correct, Head of Government Affairs? Exactly. So Head of Government Affairs at Shell. So we do have quite a good panel, I think, set up this evening, and I hope that you all really enjoy it. So we're just going to begin. Oh, thank you. Okay, so we're just going to begin actually now that you can just put the slide there. That's good. In theory, once the slide flips, what we're going to do is just by quickly starting off, introduce you to some of the candidates in the room before I get into the nitty-gritty of my particular talk this evening. So here we are, myself, not that you haven't seen enough of me already. This is Calgary East, and of course we've got the riding map up there, so if you do live in this area, south of 16th and east of Deerfoot, let me know because you are potentially one of my voters. Flip to the next slide, if you can do. Here we have Cam Stewart. Oh, sorry. Okay, so we have Cam Stewart. Cam wasn't able to come with us tonight, but he is the Liberal Party candidate in Calgary Northeast. So just north of my area, if you happen to be in the northeast of Calgary, that's your candidate. And the next row. Yep, there we have Stephen Randall. Some of you may know Stephen, so Stephen, actually, if you want to stand up. This is Dr. Stephen Randall, who is our candidate for Calgary Centre North, an exciting potential for a by-election in that riding if there is no federal election. Just go to the next one. Here, wasn't able to get a picture of Margaret, but Margaret, are you here? Oh, there you are, Margaret. Thank you. Okay. See, the benefit of having you all enclosed in a room is that it's enforced support. So, so we have Margaret and we have Marlene. And Marlene, I wasn't able to get your photo, but there's Marlene from Panelists. So we pretty much covered the whole gamut. If we just move on. Okay. So I'm going to talk today quite a bit about the history of what predated the oil sands. Just to give you a bit of a background as to what I do actually on a daily basis. I'm a researcher in the history and philosophy of mathematics. So my area of specialty is 19th century calculus and symbolical analysis, and I look at how calculus and symbolical analysis were generated. Well, one of the things that centers around the generation of mathematics in the 19th century is really the rise of thermodynamics and the rise of engineering sciences and the rise of heat sciences. And so when somebody talks to me about the oil sands, or certainly talks to me about something as engineering dependent as the oil sands, automatically my historical interest is sparked because there's a lot of overlaps. So I'm going to be speaking about that a little bit today. And of course, my interest in history leads me always to ask, how much do people actually understand the history of the oil sands if they're going to be engaged in this debate? And a lot of that history is a difficult history, especially as a Liberal Party member. And we're going to be facing that head on today as we talk a little bit about the National Energy Program. So just to start off, here are a few images, and I'm just going to protect myself with a caveat by saying that these are Edward Bertinsky's images of the oil sands. And I did get quasi-approval from his Toronto office to use these images, but Calgary never got back to me. So just so that Edward knows, I did try my best not to infringe on his copyright, but we're going to use the images anyhow. So off we go to the next image. Just to give you the overview, most of you know, some of you will know a lot of these details, some of you won't know these details, but let's talk about the oil sands, which is what we're here to talk about today. The oil sands in 2011 is quite an interesting and expansive development in the north of Alberta and